So our next lesson is going to be interval notation. Not set filter. We're not going to do that part. Sorry. I should have taken that off. So just interval notation. So on the number line, we represent sets of numbers in intervals. These intervals can be bounded, which is between two endpoints, or unbounded with no limit. Okay, so what that means is the bounded ones actually include the numbers 1 and 4. Unbounded means that it does not include the number -2. And this one's going to infinity, of course. Infinity is this big, huge number that we will never reach. So that's why it's considered unbounded. So the unbounded, you will use parentheses, okay? So for the open circles, you will use parentheses to show that they do not touch that point, or they do not include that point. With the included points, you are going to use a bracket. So for example, on this one, you'd be using a bracket, and for these ones, you would be using parentheses. Positive infinity and negative infinity for unbounded intervals, which I went over. So let's go ahead and look at the first example. So it says graph each inequality and rewrite it using interval notation. So here it says x is greater than or equal to 4. So on our graph, I'm going to go ahead and identify 4. And then we think, do we make an open circle here, or do we fill it in? So since it includes the equal sign, we are going to have a filled in circle. Okay. And all the numbers that are greater than 4 are going to be in this direction. So this is what our number line would look like. Okay, so then when we write it as an interval, okay, it starts at 4, it touches 4, so we are going to use a bracket on 4, comma, and then it goes on forever and ever and ever to positive infinity. So we're going to write infinity, and then although we would want to touch infinity, we can never touch infinity. It's an unbounded, so that's why I use a parentheses. All right, the next one. X is less than 6. So here we're going to put a 6. All the numbers less than are this way. And then from there, since it's less than but not equal to 6, and then this is a case where we have an open circle. Okay. Then we write this in an interval. Now remember, we need to go from left to right. So over here on the left side is negative infinity. So we are going to write negative infinity, and it goes all the way up to 6. Now negative infinity, we will never touch negative infinity. And 6, because it is not equal to 6, it is unbounded. So we use a parentheses on that one also. All right, the next one. This one is saying it's -5 is less than or equal to x, but x is less than or equal to 2. So we are going to put both numbers. So here is -5, and here is 2. At -5, it does have the equal to sign here, so it'll be a closed circle. It's the same thing for 2. And it's all the space in between here. So the way that we write this as an interval, we write a bracket because it is bounded between 5 and 2, and it also touches at 2, so we use a bracket there as well. This one we have two possibilities. It's x is less than -3, so that's what I'm going to start with. Here is -3. And then all the numbers less than are this way. Okay, so this side is negative infinity. And then it's less than, so that is an open circle because it is unbounded. Okay, then we have x is greater than 1. So here is 1. We're going to make an open circle. And then all the numbers that are greater than 1 are this way. Okay, and on this side is our positive infinity. Okay. Let me go ahead and write the negative infinity down here just to keep it even. Okay, so then from there, we are going to write our interval notation. So we have to start from left to right. So negative infinity, -3. That's what I'm writing first. So here, negative infinity, comma, -3. Negative infinity will always have a parentheses. And then -3 is an open circle, so we're going to use an open circle here. Okay. Then we have this little gap here that there's absolutely nothing, and then it starts back up at 1, and then it goes all the way up to positive infinity. And then we do a parentheses on the 1 because it's an open circle, and a parentheses on the infinity. And then in between these intervals, we're going to put a little U here that unifies both intervals. Okay? All right, interval. So here we're working a little bit backwards. Now they're giving us the interval. We're going to have to graph it, and we're going to have to write the inequality. So we have from 1 to infinity. Okay, so I'm going to write 1. Here's 1. They do use a bracket here, so we are going to have a closed circle. And then it goes all the way up to infinity. So on here, we have the interval, so we're writing the inequality. So it's 1 and all the numbers that are greater than 1. So x is greater than 1. And then it's also going to be equal to. Okay, and the reason that it's equal to is because it has a bracket here that we saw, and we used a closed circle. All right, next is going to be 2, 5. So here we have 2, here we have 5. It uses parentheses on both the 2 and the 5, so it's going to be an open circle, and it's everything in between. Okay, so then from there, we write this as an inequality. So x is going to go in the middle. Remember, we go left to right, so it's going to be 2 and 5. And so your x is bigger than 2, right? So it's going to be equal to. Remember, this little Pac-Man thing is going to be facing the x. It's going to be eating the x. And then x, it has to be less than 5. Wait a second. Sorry. It doesn't have the equal to sign because they're both open circles. I'm sorry about that. So both of them are the less than signs like that. Okay, so that's how you would write it when it's in between 2 points. So let's look at the next one. We have -3. So I'm going to write -3. This is +4. -3 is going to be a closed circle because there's a bracket here. 4 is going to be an open circle. Okay, and then that means all the space in between. So here we are going to write our inequality. So we do the same steps, -3 and 4. We start with the smaller number, go to the bigger number. The x is going to be in the middle. It's still going to be the less than signs, but on this one, this is a closed circle. This is a bracket. So not only is it less than, it's less than or equal to. And that's it for that one for the inequality. And then lastly, here we have -infinity to -2. On -2, it does have a parenthesis. So that means that it is an open circle. So this is our first interval. Our next interval is 1 to infinity. So then we find 1. It goes all the way up to infinity. At 1, it's going to be an open circle because they did use a parenthesis here as well. And that's what our graph would look like. So in an inequality, okay, so it is on this way, these are all the numbers that are less than -2. So x has to be less than -2, not equal because the circle is not filled in. Or it could also be, and then here's 1, and these are all the numbers that are bigger than 1. So x can also be greater than 1. Now on here, it is also just greater than or equal to sign because it is an open circle. And I believe that's it. So let's go ahead and look at our delta math. So on the delta math, we look at interval notation. I'm going to show you guys a little bit how to use this and just practice with it a little bit because it might be kind of confusing. So here it says express the interval shown on the number line in interval notation. So if we're doing interval notation, that means with the brackets or the parentheses. So if we see on here, this is -infinity. So that means I'm going to have to use a parentheses here. And this is an open circle, so that means I'm going to have to use another parentheses. So when I pick this, I'm going to pick this one right here. Then I'm going to pick -infinity 2, and then this number here is -3. So I have to type that in, and then you submit your answer. And yes. What did I do? Interval notation. Did I do something wrong? Show example. back. Sorry. Okay. How did I do this wrong? Parentheses, negative infinity, -3. Oh, that's not -3, it's -1. Of course, I don't know how to count. Okay, so on your delta math, this is one of the examples that they have. So if we look on here, this number here, it's showing an arrow, so it goes from negative infinity. So we know we always need a parentheses on negative infinity. And then right here, we're going to need another parentheses. So we figure out what this number here is, and it is -1. So that's exactly what we put on here. So we put the parentheses, we click negative infinity, then we go to the other little space and we type in -1, and then we submit answer. And that tells us that, oh, it's asking if we want to submit the answer. We say yes, and that is correct. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what the next problem looks like. Okay. I just want to show you guys how you're using this on Delta Math, just in case you guys are a little bit confused. So let's go ahead and take a look. Move. Okay. So we're going from -11 to -8. So it even gives you examples here. It says, or it gives you directions. Click and drag to plot the line. So we're going to click on -11, and then we need to hold it. And then we click and drag to -8. I went too far, right here. And then we let go. But we don't need closed circles. We need open circles. So if you see down here at the bottom, it says click line to delete. Click circle, close circle to change it to an open circle. Okay, so it gives you directions just in case you don't know how to use it. So if I click the line, it deletes it. But that's not what we wanted to do. We click and hold from 11 to -8. We want to tap the points because we want an open circle. And let me use it with my mouse. There you go. And then I am going to submit my answer. Are you sure you want to submit this answer? Yes, I do. And it is correct. So let me see if there's any other weird problems that might be. I think this one should be good. This one they wanted an interval notation. Let's go back. This one, all three interval representations. So this one tests all of them together. So it says express the interval using two different representations. So first we're going to give it an inequality. So this is 9 to infinity. So first I want to draw it on my graph because I think that's easier. So remember, you click on 9 and you drag it. So I drag it all the way to the arrow, okay, to show that it's going to go on forever. It should stay a closed circle because of the bracket here. So I'm not worried about that part, so that's good. So now I'm going to write it as an inequality. So as an inequality, I'm going to write x has to be greater than or equal to, because this way is all the numbers that are bigger, all the numbers that are greater than or equal to 9. And I go ahead and submit my answer, see what it says. Are you sure I want to submit? Yes, I do. And I got this correct. Okay, so those are just examples how you use it on Delta Math. And that's it. Thank you guys. See you tomorrow.